Good evening and welcome to all our friends in Milan and our friends in Miami and Chicago. I'd like to thank Confagricoltura for bringing here these producers, these winemakers. And also, I'd like to thank very much the winemakers who are here. Some of them connected through Zoom and some live here. Today we will taste some white berry grapes. So both in northern Italy, central Italy, southern Italy, we'll taste Falanghina, we'll taste some rare varieties. Therefore, a very important. So I'll take you through this journey in Italy from all across Italy. So let's start by saying that native grapes, indigenous varieties, are an integral part of our history. We have some 540 registered native grapes, and therefore we are truly a country of indigenous varieties. At least 200 of these registered varieties are white berry grapes. And indigenous varieties are those that grow and adapt perfectly to the conditions, climatic conditions, territorial conditions. And what we are going to taste are wines that are authentic and genuine expression of their territories, also thanks to the know-how of our winemakers. So let's start without any further ado. And so let's start from the first wine. First of all, to Falanghina. If you have already attended my masterclasses, I am from Campania, from Sorrento. I live in Naples. And so Falanghina, I am very familiar with Falanghina. And we will try to start immediately with something I'm very familiar with, so from my homeland. However, I'd like to say something about Falanghina, which I know very well. The Falanghina we're about to taste is one of the two styles of Falanghina you can find in Campania, because you can have Falanghina dei Campi Flegrei, close to Naples, and Campi Flegrei, which are where there are volcanic soils, so there are very strong influence. So there are dark sands, strong influence from the volcano. And the other style is the Falanghina we are about to taste today, which is Falanghina del Sannio, which is more inland in Campania, and that is adapted to different conditions. So it is proven that these are two different varieties and that give different expressions. So they carry the same name, but we have Falanghina dei Campi Flegrei and Falanghina del Sannio. So when you taste Falanghina in the future, in a wine bar or at the restaurant, always pay attention to this, to the name of Falanghina, because there are these two styles and two different wines. And Maria Teresa will tell us more about it. Maria Teresa from Rosso Vermiglio should be connected with us live through Zoom. And she will tell us more about her winery and Falanghina del Sannio. And we'll have the spumante made with Falanghina del Sannio and a still Falanghina del Sannio. Falanghina is a very versatile wine or variety, and you can also have the passito wine, so the Falanghina passito, which is made with dried Falanghina grapes. So Falanghina, as I said, is very versatile. It can have different styles. And though it's an easy drinking wine, it can have also a fairly good aging potential. Maria Teresa, are you there? Please introduce your winery. Here I am. So good evening. Good evening. Welcome, Maria Teresa, and welcome at our masterclass. I introduced quickly our territory, our homeland, since we come from the same area. And I said that you make a Falanghina del Sannio, and we'll have two versions, so two Falanghinas. So tell us more about your winery, and also tell us more about your Falanghina. So I know that you work with your husband. Yes, he is the enologist and the agronomist. Our winery is in Sannio Beneventano, province of Benevento. So we are at the foot of Apennines, at the altitude of 350 meters. Falanghina del Sannio is different from Falanghina dei Campi Flegrei. Campi Flegrei is a Franc de Pied Falanghina, whereas we have rootstocks. And so Falanghina del Sannio has a DOC. Sorry, let me clarify something. Franc de Pied means that there are some Prefirloxera vines, because in this area there is the volcanic, so the volcanic soil, and so the Phylloxera could not spread in this area because of these volcanic soils, and so in this area there can be Franc de Pied vines, so on their own vines. Okay, very quickly, let me tell you about my winery, that we make only indigenous varieties, and we make wines with the grapes that we grow in our vineyards. And my husband is in charge of the production process. He's agronomist and an enologist, and therefore we are a family-owned winery. And as far as Falanghina is the most important variety in Campania. We make still Falanghina, then Falanghina Spumante, and Falanghina Passito. So with our Falanghina, you can start the meal and end the meal with us. And you can use our Falanghinas across the entire meal. Very well. When I come back to Naples, we'll have a dinner together with a different Falanghina for each course. Certainly. And then another distinctive feature is that we keep our wines on the lees for a long time. So the one we are going to taste is 2019, because Falanghina 2019 is the last vintage we have bottled. And so we make a metodo Charmat, and 18 months in autoclave, just to underline the characteristics. So it's 100% the variety, then long aging on the lees, and therefore this gives a very long shelf life to our wines. So our white wines have a very good aging potential. Of course, we give them time, because time matters for the winemaker, and the wine will tell us when it's ready. So these 12 months on the lees are mandatory for us. And then we release our wines very late, but just because we bottled them with this timeline. As to Spumante, we use a Charmat method, but actually, well, it's almost an ancestral method. Yes, because we have just one fermentation. So we don't start from the wine base and then we add sugar and we have the second fermentation, but we have just one fermentation, so the must is put in the autoclave after fermentation under controlled temperature, and then when there is enough residual sugar, the wine is kept for 12 months in the autoclave. And so the yeast will work with the wine for 12 months. So it's halfway through the Martinotti method and the ancestral method. The ancestral wine should stay in the bottle with the residue, whereas we filter it. And in any case, this is our approach. And of course, I'm here for any question you may like to ask me. Yes, please stay with us in case there are questions. We already have the wines in the glass, and so we can proceed. We can taste your falanghina. Thank you, Maria Teresa. Thank you. You were very clear. Very well. So let's start with this nice falanghina spumante with this golden color. Typical nose, floral white fruit, citrusy notes. And let's also taste it now. And on the palate, we have this freshness and nice acidity that makes it perfect for an aperitif. So, falanghina that you can enjoy at the beginning of the meal. So, this falanghina spumante has a very nice acidity that is typical of this variety, and that gives this falanghina a nice character and personality. We also have a still falanghina. So we have these citrusy notes. So you can recognize that there are these floral notes, these citrusy notes. And also, thanks to what Maria Teresa said, also in this falanghina that is fairly young, we already have some golden highlights, some golden nuances that is the result of their style for this falanghina. So let's taste it. So we have a nice freshness. And actually, I confirm that. So we have this freshness. This is a wine that can be perfect for an aperitif, so beginning of the meal. And also, it's also beautiful with fish. So fish dishes that are typical of our Campania cuisine. Are there any questions for Maria Teresa about the winery, about the wines? Feel free to ask if you have any questions. No questions here in Milan. Well, they are still drinking here, still enjoying their falanghina. I don't think there are other questions. Maria Teresa, only I have a question. Have you already any importer in the state? No. Can she hear us? Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I was asking, do you already have any importers in the States? No, we are in Canada, but not in the States. So you're only in Canada. So if you like, you can contact Maria Teresa if you are interested in her wines. The name of this Falanghina is called Frenesia, which is frenzy. So this is the name that they have given to this name, and I think I forgot to tell you. Okay, so if there are no other questions, I would like to say goodbye to Maria Teresa, or well, if you like, you can stay with us if you can, and we can move to the next wine. Great. The next wine is a Lugana, and called the Montelupo 2020, and it's a Trebbiano di Lugana. The company is Cubue, and we are in Pozzolengo in Basso Garda, lower part of Garda. We have here with us Gilberto, who is ready to join me. Good evening to the participants here in Milan, and I'd like to thank them. And of course, I want to thank our friends overseas, and thanks Stefania and Confagricoltura for this great opportunity. We are a family. We have been making wine for 50 years. So this year we celebrate our 50th anniversary. My grandpa started in 2071. I am the third generation. We are in Pozzolengo. Pozzolengo is the only community of the DOC that is not on the lake. And I think that we are quite special because we are on the hills. We have the Morenic hills of the Garda Lake. So our soil is very favorable for Trebbiano di Lugana. So the variety is Trebbiano di Lugana. We also call it Turbiana, which is probably the more precise name. These Morenic hills have clay that are typical of all Lugana, together with limestone of the hills. So I think we can combine in our wine the acidity and structure of clay with minerality, sapidity, elegance of limestone that we are fortunate to have, and I think that this is a beautiful combination. And you said that you pay particular attention in the vineyard. Yes. I mean, we are not certified, organic certified, but we haven't used the pesticide forever. My grandpa, so we don't use chemicals. So just and of course. On the leaves where there are bunches, we also use systemic treatments, but we always have very low sulfites, so below 10 grams per liter, which is the threshold for organic wines. And some years we even went down to 7, which is very low for white wines. And for red wines, we are below 6 and 7. We pay a lot of attention, and also because we use the screw cap, the so-called Stelvin cap, because we strongly believe in this cap, because from the organoleptic, from the sensory standpoint, and also for the aging of our wines, is certainly a wonderful cap to taste great wines over time. Unfortunately, the Italian market is not yet ready, is still a bit reluctant with these caps, but when you have time to explain, people understand. Perhaps I can remind that the screw cap is used also for Riesling, which are par excellence wines for aging. So an OTR for long and slow aging in bottle. So to give us those evolved aromas that I enjoy a lot. Well, you preach to the converted. I love Riesling, especially Riesling from Moselle. And if 30, 40 years ago they didn't start using the screw caps, we wouldn't be able to taste their wonderful Riesling, which they obtain also thanks to the screw caps. So let me launch this message with Gilberto. So don't be reluctant when you see a screw cap. Don't be afraid, because with the screw cap you can also make good quality wines. Thank you, Stefania, but that's our education, our culture, our tradition is the cork. So cork. And so in the 70s, the poor quality wines had the screw cap in Italy. And so all people think that wine in the screw cap are poor quality. And so we should change this habit. But on the contrary, also very top quality wines can have screw caps and offer good quality. Yes, we also had some forums here, and the trends are also trends, for instance, abroad, also not to use glass bottles, so use bricks, tins. We're not definitely ready for wine in tins or in cans, sorry. We could start with the screw cap. That would be already a lot for us. And in any case, I'd like to ask the same. I ask Maria Teresa, do you have already contacts, importers in the States? Yes, in New York, New Jersey, and Georgia. But with COVID, with the pandemic, the business stopped a little bit in the US. But, well, in any case, this can be a way to restart. Whereas now, let your wine speak of Trebbiano di Lugana, the variety, or Turbiana, which is an indigenous variety from the area of Gilberto. So a strong mineral note, as Gilberto said, so almost salty, definitely very savory. Let's take a sip and let's see if this is reflected on the palate. And by the way, we have this nice golden color, despite it's pretty young. This is just stainless steel, right? Yes. Yes, as we said for Falanghina, also in this case, a lot of freshness because Italian white indigenous varieties are characterized by this nice acidity, which is certainly, this freshness that fills your mouth and makes these wines very enjoyable, especially for people who like white wines, and enable us to use them with various courses in a meal and also for aperitifs. And also it could pair very well with the fried food. So I'm thinking of the freshness of a spumante, and so it could be great with some starters and also fish dishes. Yes, this reminds me of Falanghina, actually the wines from Campania, probably because of the typicity of your area, as you've said. So it's a little different from the other municipalities in your area. So it's very important to know these stories to then understand better these nuances. Probably in a blind tasting, I would say that this is a wine from Campania, my area of origin. Very well. Many thanks to Gilberto. Feel free to ask questions for him. Any questions for Gilberto? The winery is Coboe, and it's located in Basso Garda, so the southern part of the Garda area. So apparently there are no questions. In any case, you are here with us. In case you have any questions, feel free to ask maybe later on. So, and let's now move to the area of Castelli di Jesi. Castelli di Jesi, which means Marche, central Italy. So we are here with the Verdicchio, which is the main indigenous variety in Marche, and in this denomination, which is also a DOCG for the Riserva wine. And Giulia has also prepared this map for you. You can open the map. And that was made for the consortium. And this map was designed by the owner of Tenute Tavignano. And today we have two Castelli di Jesi. We have Villa Torre and the Cru, that is a small 4-hectare vineyard, which is Misco. So a 4-hectare vineyard on the Musone River, which is in the bottom part of the denomination. So if you open your map, you can find the winery in this area down south. I invite Giulia to join me here to tell us something more about her winery and about Marche. My name is Giulia, and I'm the sales manager of Tenute Tavignano. Thank you for being here. I'd like to welcome also our American friends. So as Stefania said, we are in Marche, in Castelli di Jesi, and in the province of Macerata. So we are in the village of Cingoli, one of the few communities of the DOC. We are 15 minutes away from Jesi, about 300 meters above sea level, halfway between the mountain and the sea. So in a very strategic position for our altitude and because of the influence from the mountains and from the seaside. So we have a lot of wind, a lot of breeze, and we are on a hill which has a very nice exposure all around. And so we always have a very good ventilation. With the company was bought by the Aymeric family and is now managed by the nephew of engineer Aymeric, Mrs. Ondine de la Velde, who designed the map for the Castelli di Jesi DOC. We are in the southern part at the boundary with the Fiume Musone, the Musone River. And we are here with Verdicchi. We mainly make Verdicchio dei Castelli di Jesi in the most classical and traditional style. Oh, sorry, Giulia. I would like to show the map with the camera so that you can show us. Yes, we are here in this little corner here, close to the Musone River. This is the map I was talking about. So the Castelli di Jesi map designed by the owner of the winery. So you are at the boundary down south where the Musone River is. And it was called Misco, and actually the Cru, the next wine, is named after Misco, which is the old name of the river. I just wanted to show the map so that you can see where the winery is located. So this is the map. And also, if you don't know, Castelli di Jesi are 25 medieval villages, and they have these historical walls all around. So as I said, we are here with two Verdicchio, Classico Superiore 2020 in steel. And the first one you taste, Villa Torre, and by the way, that's an analogy with the Lugana with Gilberto. We also have the screw cap, and also the Verdicchio. Verdicchio is considered to have relations with the Trebbiano di Lugana. So these two varieties from different regions, faraway regions, have these analogies. And they both adapted over the centuries to the territories where they were brought over the years. And actually, these two varieties carry the name of the territory because Villa Torre is an old torre, an old tower close to the vineyard. Yes, Villa Torre is an area of the village and also there is a torre, a tower of Tavignano, and Tavignano has a castle which is a Iesi castle. And Misco is the ancient name of the Musone River, and so the wine is named after this river. Can you tell us more about the difference between the two wines? Please talk about the first one and then the second, and then let's compare and contrast. Well, there are many differences. First of all, the Villa Torre, the first wine, spends only 6 months in stainless steel and is bottled in March. Whereas Misco, 9 months in stainless steel and 4 months in bottle, and is released 1 year after harvest. Then for Villa Torre, the vineyards are amphitheaters on a hill, surface of 12 hectares. And even though so we just harvest 6 hectares because we just pick grapes in certain areas depending on the exposure and age of the vines. In any case, all these vineyards are on 12 hectares. So with different exposures and different conditions. We have on average 20 years. Our vineyards are 20-year-old on average. Misco comes from a single vineyard, 4-hectare vineyard in a very specific position along a slope that descends towards the Musone River. And then the position, the exposure, and the microclimate are quite special because of this river, which of course influences with its waters and humidity, but because it creates a sort of canyon, and then there are strong winds, strong air currents. And so with Misco, we wanted to emphasize our cru, our terroir and single vineyard wine. And here we have the oldest vines, about 30-year-old. So these two products are completely different. Villa Torre, the first one, is a little more opulent, and in any case, a daily wine, whereas Misco is far more elegant and delicate, more persistent, lingering, and with a nose and a complexity on the palate that are much broader. Very well, and by the way, they both are kept in stainless steel, but Misco is kept in fine lees, but with no batonnage. So this is another characteristic. Yes, and with Misco, we harvest grapes that are slightly overripe. So same variety, but different climates, different microclimates, different ages of the wines, then stainless steel, but with some differences in terms of timing. So let's see. Let's see these two versions of Verdicchio. Absolutely. Let me add something. In the US, we are present, by the way, at the moment, not in Illinois, so that I can answer this question in case you have this question for me too. Thank you. So I lost track of my glasses. This is 4 and 5. 4 and 5. So the first Verdicchio is Villa Torre. And we can immediately perceive, unlike the previous wines, the typical herbaceous note of Verdicchio, and also with this color, with these greenish highlights, even though it's straw yellow. And also, I invite you to take the other glass too and smell it so that we can grasp the differences. So the nose is very similar, and it reminds us of this very herbaceous note of freshly cut grass and citrus fruits like lime or pear. And it's very interesting to have the same variety in different styles, because we can actually compare and contrast, and which is interesting, and that make the tasting more dynamic. So let's taste the Villa Torre, the first Verticchio, and after Misco. So on the palate, as Julia said, it's agile and easy drinking. So wine made to express the aromas of this variety with this citric note, this herbaceous note that, as Julia said also yesterday, is also very good for fish dishes of the Marche cuisine. Because so you said that part of your vineyards are overlooking the sea, some of them at least. And certainly it's fresh, agile, easy drinking, and a daily wine, as Julia said. And then let's also taste the second Verdicchio. And then we find again the same notes that we found in the glass, but the difference is in the texture. So here we can see that there are old vines involved. So with more lingering, more structure, and a texture which is more complex. Do you agree? Is there any comment, any observation? Any comment on this Verdicchio? Well, I see you're very much focused on your glasses, and I'm glad. So I hope that you enjoy these wines, because we are traveling to various places in Italy thanks to our white berry varieties. So if you have no questions, seems there are no questions, I would move forward, and let me just give you a quick recap. The first was Falanghina, the second was, first was Formante, the other was still Lugana, then the Basso Garda, and then the Marche with its two Verdicchio. And now we go to another Italian region, which is very suitable for this variety from Canova, so Canova Winery. Canova is also the name of a sculpture, but this is the name of the winery. So Ca Nova means a new house, Casa Nuova, Ca Nova. So let's travel to Emilia with Malvasia di Candia. From a Malvasia, which are aromatic and semi-aromatic varieties, with two different wines. One is Emilia IGP, so protected indication of origin, and then the Colli di Parma. And I'd like to invite here Tommaso, who is representing the winery, and he's going to tell us more about the winery and the territory and the idea behind these wines. He's young, but still ready to join this family's tradition. And then we will leave the floor to Manuela, who is the consultant, who is going to talk about the style, and Manuela, the enologist, will tell us more about the style of these wines. And she will talk about Malvasia, this variety. But let's start from you. Thank you, and thanks to all the participants, and thanks to our American friends. My name is Tommaso Mornezzucchi, and actually I'm young, I'm 23, I'm 23-year-old. But so since I'm very fond of my territory and fond of this passion for wine of my family, and so here I am, I decided to fully work here. The winery is in Noceto, at the heart of the Food Valley. We are at 350 meters above sea level. We have 8 hectares of vineyards and in our estate. So 8 hectares that where we produce all in all 60,000 bottles. And this year we produced more because we also invested on Lambrusco, which is a red berry grape, another variety. And as far as Ca Nova, actually is not new, so it's not a new house, because in that area we have documents that prove that wine has been made here since the 16th century, because Costa Mezzana, where we are, is related to the so-called Via Francigena that leads from Canterbury to Rome, the pilgrims. And so we are along this route. So now not just pilgrims, but we all need to have some good wine in life. The Malvasia we are about to taste tonight, well, one is sparkling, Colli di Parma, and the other is still. And Ventuno is the name of the wine. Ventuno because 21, so 2021 is the first year we make this style of a Malvasia. Always Malvasia aromatica di Candia. As I said, the Malvasia family is very broad, so every Italian region has an indigenous variety of Malvasia, and yours is Malvasia di Candia. So the first you drink is Ventuno, the still wine, and then Colli di Parma, the sparkling wine, is the second wine. And I'd like to say that this is the last survivor in our area, so much that we have a DOC appellation. So, and it's called the Colli di Parma because the consortium we are part of, there are 44 wineries. And the mission of the consortium is to try to promote this distinctive, this unique variety that dates back to ages ago, and so we have this legacy to preserve and promote. And this year I'm very happy that our winery was awarded for the second time the award at the Malvasia Festival as Best Malvasia, the Best Malvasia Award, and the panelists had to see, to judge the opening to new markets and to new generations. And so Colli di Parma, the second one, the sparkling one, was awarded this prize. So the sparkling one is the best Malvasia. Also for the opening towards new markets. That was a parameter that that was important in this prize. So we are not present in the States, and that's why we are here, and we want to be present. Okay, so I cannot ask you whether you have any importer in the US. So this is all about our winery, our wines, and our future. Thank you. You were crystal clear. Thank you, Tommaso. And now we leave the floor to Manuela who is the enologist of the winery. She's going to talk about Malvasia and the strategy and the blend in these wines. First of all, it was a challenge that we decided to take on about with the still Malvasia, because they were already making the sparkling Malvasia. Of course, we start from the variety with 2 harvests. First, we select grapes for sparkling Malvasia, because we want to have a certain finesse, fruit, exotic fruits, fine, so mild, fruity, pineapple, banana, and peach. Oh, let me ask you a question that is maybe too technical, but it's an aromatic variety. So what do you do? Do you also try to have the right aromatic maturation, or? Oh yes, yes, of course. We make the tests and we try to find the right maturation, the right ripening level, because it's more difficult with an aromatic variety, because you have to have, of course, the usual characteristics, phenolic maturation, technological maturation, and also aromatic maturation. So, yes, that's fundamental. Otherwise, that would be spoiled. And then after a few days, we use grapes to make the Malvasia Ferma, which is more citrusy, more finesse and fruit, an exotic fruit for Malvasia, sparkling Malvasia, and then more citrusy, so grapefruit, lemon, so more citrusy notes for Malvasia Ferma, still Malvasia, but also with more structure, more body, as the grapes ripen for a few more days. Both wines spend about 6 months on their fine lees. The sparkling has a prise de mousse with a sweet base at 2.5 bars, and the residual sugar is 14 grams per liter, whereas the still one is 4 grams per liter and spends around 8 months on fine lees with batonnage. So 14 grams per liter, then we'll be able to perceive that. Yes, you have to, because it's a characteristic. So that's very important. The still Malvasia has a lower residual sugar, but we also have nice suppleness and so a lingering wine, an ample wine. And certainly the still Malvasia has this citrusy note, which is very distinctive, that is extracted from this variety, the position, and also the aging time, because we check acidity, we check the sugar, and then we, of course, harvest by hand, and then we have the cold process, maximum 15 degrees, to have these persistent flavors, which is the distinctive feature. If you have no questions for Manuela, she can take her seat so that we can finally taste your Malvasia. So it seems there are no questions. Then we can continue. And the nose is completely different compared with the previous wines. This is an aromatic grape, these floral notes of citrus fruits. And certainly it's very intense on the nose. And also very delicate. We can taste it too. So it's dry. This is the still Malvasia, and this is the first year. first year of this wine, that they release this wine. On the palate, it's fresh and with this citric note that is pretty lingering. But I also invite you to take a Colle di Parma, and please let's do as before. Let's compare and contrast, because as Manuela said, in the sparkling Malvasia, we should find more exotic fruits. So yes, we have the floral notes. This is typical of a Malvasia. But also this note of mango and grapefruit. So it opens up and the nose is much more exotic. And also summery. So it's very, so that's very nice as an aperitif. And actually the aperitif is one of the occasions in which you can enjoy this wine. So you can drink them also on their own without food. So also this comparison between the two Malvasia is very interesting. So the common element is this variety with the floral notes, but in the Ventuno we have these citrus notes, citrus fruit notes, whereas in the sparkling Malvasia we have more exotic fruits, more summery fruits. And for the time being, we have Colle di Parma. Well, let's taste again Ventuno once again, because I'd like to make you memorize this taste. So take one more sip of Ventuno. And so let's now leave this still Malvasia, and so it's a memorable variety you can fall in love with, like a beautiful woman. And let's move to the other one, so that we can switch gears and we can perceive this sweetness that we can perceive both on the nose and on the palate. So it's slightly sparkling. And it has these velvety bubbles. Is this 2.5 bars, right? Yes. And we find again this sweetness. So we have the floral nose with exotic fruits, and the same is true for the palate. So these flavors are found also on the palate. So we have perfect consistency between nose and palate. And this wine is sweet, flavorful, very sensual. Manuela says medium sweet, not really sweet, because 13 grams is not much, but you can perceive them quite well. So it's medium sweet, actually. And besides the aperitif, Ventuno can be good for the Emilia dishes, maybe the tortellino pasta. So the tortellino with sage and butter. And the frizzante, the sparkling wine, is perfect as an aperitif, certainly, to drink alone or to pair with seafood or shellfish, salmon, shrimps. So it's almost dinner time, so we shouldn't talk about pairings, because here we only have some breadsticks and that's it. So two great examples of Malvasia di Candia, very interesting, that as Tommaso and Emanuela interpret this territory, and because Malvasia is a variety present all over Italy, but Malvasia di Candia can only be found here. They have a DOC Colli di Parma, which is the one that we are tasting right now, and there is a consortium they are part of. Very well, super interesting. So you have plenty of glasses, so you don't know where to put them. So you're full of glasses on the table. So we're almost at the end. We have the last one. So let's go back from where we started. So let's go back to my home, even closer to my home, because I will take you over to the Amalfi Coast. And since I am from Sorrento, yes, we are rivals with Amalfi, but we love each other, right? So I will have you taste some varieties that are not rare. They're more than rare, because actually outside the area, actually they are very hard to come by. And I'm talking about Fenile, Ginestra, and Rivolo. And probably these names don't tell you anything. But if I tell you Fiorduva probably tells you more, and you understand what I'm talking about. So it's the one by Marisa Cuomo, the winery, and we'll have Andrea Ferraioli, who is the man behind this winery, and the great care for these indigenous varieties in their family-owned vineyards with old vines, ancient vines. Also the costiera, so the Amalfi Coast, is a pre-phylloxera area. So it wasn't affected by phylloxera in the mid-19th century. And he recovered also some 60-year-old vines. But I don't want to dwell on that, because I'd like to leave the floor to Andrea Ferraioli. Here he is. So, hello, Andrea. Hello, good evening. I also forget your name. I'm called Stefania. My name is Stefania. So I stopped speaking because he is very well prepared, and he has already showing us the label of Fiorduva. And in particular, we have the Fiordo di Furore behind with the bridge, so the area where he lives. So you can go ahead. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Stefania and Confagricoltura, who has given us this great joy. So we had a chance to present our wine with many other beautiful wines. And so it's a great opportunity for us. And I'd like to thank our friends from the States who are at our tasting, who are listening to us. On the American market, in my, despite I have a small winery, I have a nice presence. And for me, it's very important. And of course, the States are a huge country, 350 million people. So as far as Fiorduva is concerned, this is a wine that comes from the valley of so-called Fiordo di Furore, which is the only fjord in southern Europe. So we have a cliff that is 700 meters above sea level. This territory is magic, wonderful. There were plenty of problems. Many people abandoned this area. But then when 39 years ago, I decided to found the winery Marisa Cuomo, I did something important for my land. Oh, yes, let me remind you, the winery called Marisa Cuomo, that is named after his wife, Marisa, is the gift that he made to his wife for the wedding. Well, in over 39 years, we've worked very hard, and now we have 40 hectares of area under vine or vineyards. Then in 13 villages in Costa d'Amalfi. You may think 40 hectares is small, but actually we are on very steep slopes, and so we cannot use equipment, mechanized equipment. So you can tell how steep our terraces are. And most of all, these vineyards are not homogeneous, because so there are very small estates, and therefore we have them a bit everywhere in the area. And however, we are very happy because when the DOC was created in '95, we created experimental vineyard, and I collected the 42 different varieties that are historical varieties, because viticulture started in the 6th century after Christ. And for instance, Ischia with the Phoenicians 2,000, 3,000 years ago. So we recovered from oblivion these rare varieties that are maybe also even hard to pronounce. But I'm very fond of these varieties because of my passion for farming and for my area, for the flavors and what my land can express. And so I'm very proud to make this wine with 3 special varieties, because if Marisa and myself were to make single variety wines, we wouldn't achieve this great result with this great blend, because the blend makes this wine very well balanced. And the individual varieties would not be very balanced. And then we don't want to work these wines too much in the cellar. This is a very surprising wine. After the 3 years, 1998 was released in 2000. So in 2000, May 2000, and in January 2001, in Milan, this wine was served to a great protagonist of Italian enology, that is Gino Veronelli, was a wine critic, and he said, this is a passionate wine that tastes like the sea and the rock. Yes, this is a quotation. This is what Veronelli said. So he says it's a passionate wine that tastes like rocks and the sea, is the claim, the motto for Fiorduva. So we are very passionate about these varieties. But I think that it takes not just passion, but love for your land. And you have to, and it's hard to fall in love with this land, because it's such a tough area, because this area was abandoned for many years. But I'm very proud because so my work was also acknowledged in 2017 with Minister Bellanova. So she instituted the National Registry of Historical and Heroic Vineyards, and we are part of it. So we are part of this register because we have this heroic vineyard, because we have steep slopes, always over 50% steepness, and then we have a pre-phylloxera Franc de Pied vines on our dry stone that we grow on our dry stone walls that make the landscape beautiful. So what was said, there is, so you can say this wine is better than the other. Certainly our wine is best because it's very unique. And for the geomorphological characteristics of this area, because this is a dolomitic and calcareous soil, so there are plenty of fossils, and there is a lot of iodine that also comes from the sea. Because from our vineyards we can always see the sea. And so the iodine that is blown to our wines, to our vineyards, brings a lot of saltiness and iodine. And then we also find it in our wine. And I would like to thank you for something you said. That each wine has its distinctive feature, this uniqueness. Because we shouldn't compare actually wines, because each wine has its uniqueness. And this is something that applies to all wines. And this is certainly true for our wine. And as to the geomorphological characteristics of this vineyard, you can see the vineyard on my left, so on your left. So behind you have the Vesuvio volcano, and the Vesuvio volcano is 4 or 5 kilometers away. And therefore the eruption of the Vesuvio, 79 after Christ, brought ashes in and lapilli in our rapillus in our area. So, sorry if I interrupt you before closing, because we are about to close, unfortunately. I would like you to show us the picture of Marisa, your wife, and the picture of your bottaia, so your cellar with all your casks and barrels. I'm sorry to stop you. I know that you are very passionate, and so you speak a lot. And if I don't stop you, you would keep speaking for hours on end. So I apologize, but please leave us with these beautiful pictures. This is Marisa, then Andrea, the son, and also please show us the bottaie, so the cellar where you keep 1/3 of the wine you are about to drink. So in this nice cellar, which is in a cave in these dolomitic rocks. Therefore, it's very special. And 1/3 of the wine we're about to taste is kept here in these barrels. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. So here we are right behind the Sorrento, so the place where you come from. So that's very exciting picture. And so thank you very much for sharing. And I will certainly come visit you, because I visited your winery some times ago, but I want to come back. And I invite all those who are in the Amalfi Coast to go visit Andrea. So Andrea, bye, and I want to bring our American friends and Milanese friends to enjoy your glass. In any case, come see me, and I'd like to thank Confagricoltura again that gave us this opportunity, and thanks to you, Stefania, who have been a brilliant presenter. Thank you. Thank you. So let's say bye to Andrea, and I truly invite you to go see him, because his winery is extraordinarily beautiful. And so you have already taken a sip, and so we have this stronger mineral note, salty note, accompanied and by the floral notes from these vineyards. And also on the palate, this is a balanced wine, full-bodied, round. It's also kept in the bottaia, in oak, in the cellar that you saw in the picture. So it's complex, and Andrea explained, because he said that he didn't want to have too much of an oaky note. So He just wanted to help the blend of these three varieties, which then give this nice balance in the glass. So these three varieties are all necessary to achieve the final goal. That is to say, to make a wine that is the result of multiple varieties and, as you've seen, from a lot of passion. Therefore, I leave you with this nice glass. And so we can conclude. But before, I'd like to ask you whether you have questions. Just one question. One question from the States? Actually, no, there are no questions. It's just some congratulations, some compliments. And let me please find the city. I always like this appreciation, and certainly you have all appreciated the wines, because I could see your faces and I could see you were very curious. You had those bright eyes that show that you truly appreciated these glasses. So appreciation from Miami. And they said that the wines were super nice and were very, very happy to have tasted them with us. I'm very happy, very, very happy. So bye-bye to our friends in Miami, in Chicago, and see you soon.